This video is going to be on my adventures with chainline on a SRAM 1x12 speed. At the end of the video, I'll cover why I have the parts that I do, but for now, just know that, or let me just describe what happened. So I have a 110 BCD Quark power meter spider. I have a regular crank set, so this is not the wide version, the regular. Bottom bracket is a BB30, and the chain ring that I have right here is a Garbruck 46 tooth Arrow 1x chain ring with a 0mm offset. So I assembled this thing up kind of how it was spec'd out. Regarding the bottom bracket, you're supposed to put a 3mm spacer in between or on the spindle, in there, 3mm. And for this, I bolted the chainring on the outer part of the spider. And the chain line, what I was getting, I was measuring it from, I had a micrometer measured from the center of that bolt out to that, just eyeballing it. It seemed like it was about 49mm, plus or minus 1. And per the SRAM specs for a 12 speed, the chain line is supposed to be 44.7. So I tried a lot of different configurations. Do I put the chainring on the inside, or, played with various spacers and things like that. And the configuration that I came up with was, rather than having the 3mm spacer in here on this side, I moved it over to that side, which effectively made the chainring go closer into the frame. So in this configuration, I'm sitting at about a 46mm chain line, which is probably as close as I'm willing to get, especially because there's just not a lot of room or back in there to kind of move it over anymore. Let's see, one of the real key things that I had problems with were the chainring bolts. So this is a wolf tooth, and you can see how thick it is. So the side on the top is what goes on the back. And whenever I bolted it all down, this bolt was hitting, there's like a little metal guard back there. So I knew these wouldn't work. So I tried ordering some steel ones in the hopes that the back side of that wouldn't need to be as thick, because steel is stronger than aluminum. And these are Truvative. It's a company that SRAM owns. And while it does look like the back side is thin, that's hard to explain, but basically you have to use the spacer. And by putting the spacer on the back side, on the back, it had the same problem as a wolf tooth. And I didn't feel comfortable putting the spacer on the front, because that would have impacted how many threads are engaged. So the bolts that I found them on eBay. They are, I think the brand is ZTTO. They're titanium 1x, chainring bolts. And on the back of the chainring bolt accepts a tool like this. So it's slotted. But with those chainring bolts, it definitely has enough clearance now that I'm pretty comfortable with it. Let's see. Now let's talk about Q factor. So because I moved the 3mm spacer from here to the other side, that means that this pedal is now closer to the frame, and this pedal is now 3mm farther from the frame. So I have, these are Look Keo Blade carbon pedals, and I was able to find some Q factor spacers, 2mm. So I put one of those in there. So now this pedal is about where it should be, and that pedal is, 3mm out, but so a little wider Q factory than what is normal, but I'm not really worried about it that much. And there's probably a little bit of play I could mess around with on my my bike shoe, cleat, kind of move it a little bit back and forth. So that's that. Everything is, again, about as good as I feel comfortable getting it. Now let's talk about what I would have done different. I would not have done the 110 BCD The problem with the SRAM 12 speed power meter is that it's one piece. So what I liked about the idea of this system is I can get the Spider power meter and swap out chain rings if I want to go, 46 tooth, 50 tooth, whatever. On the SRAM, you'd have to buy a whole nother one. So what I think I would do if I did it over again is I would buy power meter pedals, and that would give me the power meter. And then for the chain ring, for the chain ring, I would use a direct mount that has no power meter in it. I think they're more reasonably priced. I don't remember off the top of my head, maybe $200 or so. And then I also think I could have gotten away with running the bottom bracket spacer how it should have been, 3 millimeters on this side. And I do have this is a spare SRAM 1x. This is actually for a gravel bike, and it's a Dub AI, so that will not fit on this bike. But you can kind of see on the SRAM, on the 1x's, the chain line on their spec page says that it's 45 millimeters. So had I put something like this on here, again, I wouldn't have had to do all this weird spacer junk. And you can see how much it sits, like the chain ring. First of all, it's like dipped back there. And anyway, the whole design of that is just to move the teeth towards that direction, towards the frame, so that the chain line is perfect. And that's it. That took me maybe about a month of playing around with this and having to order all these little special parts and spacers. Maybe one more shout out right there on the ground. Excuse the mess. I do a lot of bike work in the winter. But that is a Wheels Manufacturing Dub spacer, and you can buy those in 0.5 millimeter increments. So I maybe could do some things to play around, maybe add another 0.5 millimeter over there and bring this in a little bit, but provided it shifts fine, I'm just gonna leave it. So, all right.